All right, I know I talked to some of you guys last night about how I live out in the middle of nowhere, and one thing that I have ample of, aside from love of my son, my soon-to-be son, but well, both my son and my soon-to-be son, and my wife. The other thing that I have plenty of is privacy, and I was sitting on the porch. This porch is I'm working on it still, obviously. We have a lot of privacy. So this is actually the view from my kitchen sink. It's kind of like a command center. It sticks out like a command console. But if you look down this way, we have a, if you look down this way, see there's part of my porch that's unfinished. We have a bottom down here that usually does not see a whole lot of water stay. There used to be, thousands of years ago, there was a creek that crested, it peaked at where that drop down is. We see a ton of pigs, a ton of deer, turkey, of course, owls and vultures. If you've never been swooped at if you've never been swooped at by an owl, it's a pretty it's a pretty scary experience, because those suckers have wingspans up to about 6 foot, and so when you see one of them things swooping down trying to grab the cherry off the tip of your cigar, it's something else. But there's our bottom, and if I turn this way, we've got this big old oak tree that stands right here. That is, we moved out here. It'll be a year come November that we've had the house here. That levee line, you can see where it drops off. You can see where it drops off right here. That once again is where the bottom would peak at. And right here we've got our pond, which we would normally keep stocked. My father-in-law is a big fisher. I'm not a big fisher, but he's a big fisher, and what he'll do is he'll go to other places and fish, and stuff that we normally eat, like the brim and nice size stuff like that, we'll fry it up. But like the bigger stuff, the bigger bass, he would bring it back and he'd throw it into the pond. But unfortunately, we haven't had a whole lot of rain that's actually stuck. The ground is sucking it up right now, and so the pond is really low. But normally the pond, if you see that stump right there, normally that stump is covered, it is underwater, and so it moves around what we call the island, which is right along this area, and pretty much that's it for the pond. The area back on that side of the pond will get a little bit soupy once the pond is filled, because that's kind of where the overflow runs. Some more trees. My wife's cousin leaves his trailer out here for all his musical gear. He leaves it parked there under that little small shade tree. And back on that picture I took last night showing the game cam lighting up is actually not in the woods. It's actually it's hard to see from here, but right about where that stump is, if you see, or that tree, sorry, where you see that tree being lit up, it's just the left side of it's where that game cam was. As a matter of fact, when I went out and mowed today, just got back in, when I went out and mowed, I think we had 3 of our usual visitors were out there. We've got a red hog, we've got a blue hog, which is blue. They got that gray color with the black spots, and there's a black hog that we've watched grow. But that's where all that is. And my father-in-law actually owns 2 tracts of about 10 acres apiece that run this way. That's just on the other side of that tree line, and he doesn't hunt it, but we do have plenty of deer back there, plenty of pigs, of course. And pigs can be a nuisance. So what we're doing is I think we're letting them come up, feed, and get nice and big, and they'll probably end up bacon. We will get deer. We'll get deer over here a lot. They'll come and feed at the edge of where that pond is dripped down. But it's beautiful middle of nowhere Louisiana property. It's likewise out the front, save for the front is a pasture. Across our little road is a little pasture that has some cows in it. But This is my piece of heaven, guys. Light went up. I smoked a good one. I smoked Rage from Diesel while I was mowing. It burned beautifully. It tasted great, and just the smell of the burn was amazing. I let it sit in my mouth, and I didn't even puff on it. I just let it burn so I could smell it. It was great. So barrels up, fellas.